it going? It is. Okay. So one recent development in my personal journey and understanding of this life, personal understanding, it's not necessarily true for, I mean, I do think that this particular, I don't know, realization, which seems incredibly obvious now, this particular realization, I think, is universal. And that is that sometimes when, I don't know, the spiritual energies seem to flow, or you're having a notably thoughtful day, and you're observing and you're pulling meaning from your experiences, and those experiences from the past, experiences that you're currently living. These are all adding together to shape the lens through which we view the world. And it's that lens, that's how we internalize the external world. It goes through our own checks and balances and our own understandings, and our own ideas, and then our actions are then influencing the objective world around us. Our understanding of this reality is subjective, but our actions have an objective, influence on the world around us. But anyway, the point that I was getting at, that I started with, was when these energies are really flowing, because it's life force. It's the same life force that flows through the trees. The same processes that are moving water, or that allow the tree to move water. See, there's always, I think, better ways to phrase things that are more accurate, and we're learning, because the natural world, the human internal world, space, everything, there's mysteries abounding. And as our understanding grows, so too will our articulation of these truths. And I think that one of those truths are that, and there's people that can speak on it far more eloquently than I can, and accurately for that matter. One of those, I believe, is Dr. Gerald Pollack. And he has there's an amazing interview with him on the Regenerative Agriculture podcast with John Kemp, where he is talking about he is talking about, I don't remember the name of the episode, but anyway, he is a water scientist, and he's arguing for a fourth phase of water. Water, we historically have known to have a liquid state, a solid state, and a vapor state, right? Dr. Gerald Pollack is arguing that there is a fourth phase of water, and he also claims to have proven this. This fourth phase is in between liquid and solid. It's sort of, and I don't know if gelatinous is the right word, but gel-like, and ordered. So another phrase for it is exclusionary zone water. It has the ability to take toxins and exclude them, to move them out of itself. And I'm getting way off topic, or maybe I'm not. I don't know. It's hard for me to tell sometimes. Anyway, it's how the tree is moving water through its xylem, because when you think of 800 or 900 foot redwood, the xylem of the tree, its major blood vessel, right, is huge. I mean, if you're talking about a tree that's like 30 feet wide, like that tube or tubes are huge, and the amount of pressure that would be required to push that water up to the top of a 900 foot redwood, I mean, that's insane. And the same thing goes for our heart. And if the circulation of our blood within our bodies relied entirely on our heart, which is widely believed even in the cardiovascular science community, although there are a lot of mysteries that I understand it, or few, that that in the conventional view are still yet to be explained. Dr. Gerald Pollack argues that it is through the interaction between our body's systems and this fourth phase water, and that interaction is it has to do with infrared light, infrared energy, radiation that is being emitted by the body, and it's like this conversation between the body and the signals that it's emitting, or the radiation that it's emitting, which everything has an infrared signature. Everything is giving off energy, and it's through this interaction that the water becomes ordered, enters this fourth phase, this exclusionary zone, and moves itself through the body, contributing a great deal of that. It's just a different transfer of energy, and it's sharing the burden of moving the blood through the body. Anyway, where was I going? As these energies, I need to drink water. And see, now that I'm getting off topic and I'm not slowing down, and I'm just kind of I'm being certainly not just rambling, as there is, you know, a point and a purpose to this. But one of the, I don't know if I want to call it dangers, but one of the I don't know, common I don't know, occurrences, or see, I don't know what the right word is there, but oftentimes when this energy is flowing, that comes from having a particularly thoughtful day, well, actually, I guess more accurately would be to say that these energies are always flowing, and it's our understanding of them, and thus our effectiveness in channeling these abilities, that really is the focus of this particular little spiel, I guess. And I mean, I'm talking through these things, I am deepening my understanding as well, because I mean, it wasn't until I think yesterday that I really started to internalize this idea that when these energies are flowing, because I have a tendency, like the other day, I was attempting to make some biochar, and I was trying to do a lot of things at once, and one of those things, though it wasn't the intent, when I set out, I did not intend to talk to the camera for 2 hours, but I did, and I'm trying to not do that right now. I'm trying to, and I mean, I'm outside of this 10 minutes, not that that was really a factor, but I tend to, you can, if you're not, it moving that energy through you, or its flow, how efficient that flow is through your systems, there's a lot of impacts that has on the self, and on the, I don't know, effectiveness, or there's a lot of influence that has on what we put out into the world. So when this energy is just flowing, I mean, it's great, but I have a tendency, I'm realizing now, not to recognize it so much when it's happening, or not recognize what that energy is. I'm just excited and passionate, and things are flowing, and that's great. But when if I don't take the time to slow down and be aware of these energies, and to kind of, I don't know, I'm thinking, like, what I'm trying to do is, when these energies are really like flowing, to slow down and do a quick intentional chakra alignment, so these energies are flowing. And I did not do that just now. That's why I started this little video here, was to convey that notion. And I was going to do a quick chakra meditation. I did not. I did earlier, which is probably has a lot to do with why I at least feel like this little, I think this may be the most concise I've ever been in under 15 minutes. Anyway, yeah, so I don't know, I'm gonna try to do that really quickly. I'm gonna pee. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that on camera. I'm gonna step aside, and I'm gonna take a drink of water, and then I'm going to do a quick chakra alignment and go on about my day. I do have several things to do. I have a way of going out, planning to be outside for a certain amount of time, and then that doesn't happen that way. Yeah. And even the single cup of coffee I had this morning probably is not helping a whole lot. Yesterday I had tea. I was pretty good in that regard. Anyway, all right. So, quick chakra alignment, an attempt at efficiency. I think that this is one of the, and I say in that 2 hours of just which was also somewhat concise, and that again is due to the personal growth that I have undergone through trying to consistently work towards bettering myself, and living more consciously, more thoughtfully, being more patient. Anyway, and it all comes down to all of these energies, which again, I do not fully understand them. I've got some books. There's a meditation sangha that I should have been going to consistently throughout the years, but it's been incredibly sporadic. Anyway, first is the root chakra. The color is red. The sound is and it is our connection with this planet. My feet are unchewed. I am connected to the earth. This is my home. I have a right to be here, just as much as the trees, the grass, and the wind. Then you move on and you just focus on whatever it happens to be for you, whichever aspect of that helps bring you deeper understanding. Anyway, for me, that's what I try to remember, and especially as a breeze hits me, it certainly helps to reaffirm that understanding, that we are not separate from the natural world, we are extensions of it. The next is the sacral chakra. And so the root chakra is, hands are like that, right? At our sides. We're standing firm, and you could do this sitting, doesn't matter, we don't have to get into all those details, and I'm certainly no expert. Anyway, the second chakra is the sacral chakra. The sound is vam. The color is orange. This, for me at least, is the understanding that the same the same processes at work in the natural world, the same energies that are driving life to persist on Earth, they exist in our bodies as well. And I like to remember that fact about the fourth phase water and the xylem of the tree, and how just like we are breathing, so too is the microbial life in the soil. The soil has a respiration rate that can be measured, as do trees. And so we're not separate, and these same processes are moving through us, and they are what allow us to live. It's this gift. The next is the solar plexus. The hands go to, oh yeah, so sacral, the second, which was orange, right? The hands are interwoven and the thumb tips are touching. And then we move on to the solar plexus. Hands are together, left thumb is over the right. Don't ask me why. I do not know the finer details of these things. All I know is they've been practicing for thousands of years, and I mean, so far they seem to be helping me a great deal. So, you know, I'm just kind of rolling with it for now. The sound is ram. The color is yellow, and it is associated with determination, the unceasing will of life to persist, always moving forward, always reaching for breath. Do not give up. And that same determination and resilience and creativity that exists in nature, that allows these ecosystems to survive the cataclysms of greed and destruction, they exist within us too. And if we simply persist, if we never stop, and it's okay to fall, you just have to get back up. What matters is that you get back up and you continue. And when we do this, we will succeed. And when we start working together and doing this in tandem, there's nothing that we can't do. Anyway, so yeah, determination. Again, it's yellow. And then we move on to the heart chakra, which is green. The hands are like that, right? The right is over the heart, the left is down at the side. The color is green. The sound is ham, which makes me think of green eggs and ham. You try it here, you try it everywhere, right? I think you get the point. The heart chakra is where the, celestial chakras, or the more cranial, spiritual aspects meet the grounded earth, like physically tangible, physically present energy sources or energy centers in the body. So in a way, it's where heaven meets the earth, right? And it's about patience and understanding and love for ourselves and for all beings. And when we practice this, and when we remember, and it's a difficult one for me in my chakra meditation this morning, I kept getting there, and I have a lot of difficulty, and that a lot of the time comes down to patience. But anyway, but this idea, and connecting it again to Dr. Seuss, the point I was getting at there was that when we practice this patience, love, and acceptance for ourselves and all beings, anywhere we attempt this, life improves, for ourselves and for all beings. That is the power of intention. And the universe understands intention. Anyway, so yeah, green. And it's funny to say. Anyway, and then we move on to the throat chakra, which is blue. The fingers are interwoven and connected. Is that what I did before? Oh shoot! Oh, see, I screwed up on the sacral chakra. It was not interwoven like that. It was right hand in the left, and like that, or that way. See, I don't even like. I'm pretty much faking it, but it seems to be working. So you don't need to have the finer points locked in. You just have to live consciously. is what it boils down to. Anyway, so you know, go back to that point, and instead of doing that for the sacral chakra, do that right hand and left hand. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so back to the throat chakra. The fingers are interwoven. The thumbs are touching. The color is blue. The sound is yam. And the connection here is with creativity, with having a voice, with having an influence, and recognizing that and fostering it and facilitating it, our creative ability. And again, we are not separate from the natural world. So all of the potential for creativity that is found in the ecosystems that surround us, to the children that just speak wisdom and brilliance without even trying, this creativity exists within all of us. And when we recognize that we have a choice in the direction that life goes, we can more consciously influence that direction. But it's important to recognize that we are creative. We do have a right to speak. We do have a right, just simply by being here, just by being alive, we have a voice to contribute to life and the direction that humanity goes. And then we move on to, and now we're getting into the ones that I really struggle with. And so we've got the third eye, right? So the middle finger touches, the fingers bend like that. I don't know if you can see, right? And the thumbs touch. I need another drink of water. Drink water as you're going, and get some sunlight too, which I did this morning. But I'm gonna step out again. And though I have the impulse to take off my shirt because I like to soak up the sun, for the sake of this video, I will not. Anyway, so we are at the third eye, right? The color is indigo. The sound is om. The fingers are bent here, touching here. The thumb is touching, and like I hold it here. I don't know, for me it kind of looks like a mask, so I used to do that, and I don't know, it feels silly sometimes it doesn't. Depends on like how much I'm feeling it, you know. And anyway, so the third eye is associated with seeing the connections that exist everywhere. Everything is interconnected. Everything is working together and flowing. This energy of life it connects all things. And the same thing goes with all of the aspects of our own life. Every event that we have experienced, every thought we've had, every song we've sung has a connection to our soul, because we have been there, we have experienced that. And to take the time to try to observe that and source meaning from it for ourselves, the personal meaning. It's not something that anybody can tell you what it is. We're able to better understand our place in the world, both inside and out. Better understand what's happening and kind of see the bigger picture. Again, both internally in relation to the self and our own personal growth, and the state of the world. And right now it's really easy to look at the world and be afraid. That's totally natural. But I don't think that, the way I see it, and again, this is just my perspective, but we need that contrast. We need something to overcome. We have to earn a better world, or we won't ever appreciate it, and it won't last. So the very nature of peace requires this apparent chaos, but I mean, it certainly seems more and more to be organized. Anyway, this shadow that feels like it's consuming the world. Not to say that it can't, not to say that things can't go how, in our current definition of life, in a direction that wouldn't be bad. I mean, that's definitely a possibility, but so too is the possibility that we start to recognize our place in the world, and that we are extensions of the natural world, not separate from it, and that we have a voice, and that when we start living consciously, we can take advantage of the opportunities that we have, the tools at our disposal, the connections that we can form to move the world in what we would describe as a better direction. And I don't know, I think we should. I mean, it's pretty much that simple, but I like to think of the darkness as the hopeful outstretched hand we're meant to miss. We have to struggle to grow. The butterfly, if a hand was to reach down and help a butterfly exit its cocoon, that butterfly would die because it would not have the strength to fly. And the same thing is happening now. No hand can reach down and fix these problems for us. We have to do this ourselves together. And in doing so, we will have the strength to take flight. Anyway, so third eye, recognizing the connections in all things, and more consciously moving through the world. Then we get into the ones again that really confuse. I need another drink of water. Whew. All right, and see this energy that's flowing. See, now one of the issues that I run into is that when this energy is flowing in the way that it feels like it is now, I'm trying to recognize it and kind of slow it down as it's passing through me. But one of the issues that I run into often is when the energy is just flowing, and especially, and it seems that the less consciously I attend to it, the more tired I am when it's passed through, right? And so there's a crash. But I've got things to do, man. I've got this project to bring into the world, and so it is required of me that I train myself to effectively deal with these energies. And it's the same thing as in an ecosystem. Robust, healthy ecosystems, the energies that are flowing in, be them sunlight, water, wind, whatever it happens to be, these energies all the way down, I mean, the feces being dropped by animals passing through the landscape, these are all energy sources, and these energy sources in a robust, healthy, resilient, effective, adaptive, creative ecosystem are putting these energies to use through as many uses as possible before that energy leaves the system. So when you think of a mudslide, all this water, it just flows out, and with it, it's taking topsoil, right? So we've got these mudslides. However, how the landscapes were prior to colonization was that perennials littered the landscapes. Perennials with their deep taproots, as opposed to the grasses that currently make up the landscape, which their root systems are, very shallow. And there are perennials here and there. They're scattered. They haven't been lost completely. However, there's not a balance between them. And it's important that there be balance, because every organism has a different niche to fill, a different role, a different service that it provides, a different job that it does in the larger system. And these perennials used to, once upon a time, and they still do to the degree that they are able to in the limited populations that they currently have in our landscapes, their root systems are like 3 meters deep, right? And those roots are living all the time. They're living throughout the year, throughout the winter, throughout the summer, and they're holding moisture in the soil. They are providing life, because without roots in the soil, there is no life, there's no fertility. And it's that life, the biology, just like us, these little microorganisms that we can't see with the naked eye, they are made up of water, just like we are, like 90-something% water, right? And when these systems are healthy, this microbial life, it's like they're holding hands and keeping moisture living in the soil. That water is alive in the soil. And in a healthy system where you've got all of this diversity, all of these things working together, when that water comes in, it's absorbed and it's held there, and it's sunk. There's a phrase in permaculture, slow it, sink it, spread it, right? And the idea is that in water, in ecological design, in our social constructs, any system that we are trying to develop, when we identify an energy source to be most effective and to facilitate just the benefit of every aspect of these systems that we are trying to design, we need to put those energy sources to as many uses as possible before they leave the system. So in terms of that water coming into the system on our California coast landscapes, currently it just flows out, right? And it just goes into the ocean. And I mean, that is, those are part of the natural systems as well. But if we were to reestablish holistic grazing patterns with animals, because animals are vital to the processes of the planet, and it's that interrelationship that again goes back to diversity, all of these different elements providing multiple needs, and every need being met by multiple elements. It's those beneficial connections that create a resilient web of life. And the same thing goes. All right, see, now I'm starting to get off topic. This energy, I'm just rolling with it, and I'm not slowing down, and I need to slow down. The point I'm getting at is, if we are intelligent in our design, in redesigning our landscapes along the coast within our own lives, we can effectively take that energy as it enters our systems and put them through as many uses as possible, because we're slowing it down. We're slowing it, sinking it, spreading it. Slow it, spread it, sink it. I don't even know which order it goes in. Anyway, the same thing goes with the energies that I've been referring to this entire time. The same processes are at work within our own body and mind and soul as are at work in the natural world, anywhere you look. All right, so I'm going to try to get back to this chakra meditation. And slow down. Not that I think still, oh, there's a lot of ants there. That's cool. I do still think that necessarily there will likely be some degree of a crash, and I think when that happens, I just need to, again, be conscious and aware and allow myself to rest and recuperate, and then get back to work. And that's where food and water comes in. It's the fuel. And the more, we're not gonna go down this particular rabbit hole at the moment, but it's one of the major components of this larger project that I've been attempting to design for the last 10 years. And that is that, and this is something that I wasn't aware of until just recently in listening to the Regenerative Agriculture podcast with John Kemp. And that is this understanding that pests do not eat sick plants. Pests do not eat healthy plants. They only attack and eat and consume the weak, diseased plants that are nutrient deficient. And that comes from a plant's efficiency in photosynthesizing, in taking in sunlight and carbon dioxide and water, and converting it, doing biochemistry, bioengineering its own environment through root exudates, through sugars and starches being released through the roots. And it's that carbon being sequestered from the environment, being pulled from the atmosphere and pumped into the ground, into the soil through its roots. That is the currency of the biological life on Earth. Anyway, I need to get back to, yeah, so the point I was getting at there was the fuel that we were putting into our bodies. Right now, it's being grown with pesticides, and we have things that are being genetically modified, where we're splicing pig genes into houseplants, and the thing is it's completely redundant, because nature, the nature of nature, how it all works is that it works, and it works really well. And when we understand those processes and we facilitate them, all of those other things become redundant. They're not necessary, because pests do not eat healthy plants. And the same thing with bug bites on a human being. And what it comes down to is the pests, the reason they don't eat healthy plants is because the sugars that the tree or the plant is able to manufacture and produce, those sugars are more complex. And the digestive system of the pest does not have the ability to digest that. Same thing with bugs. A mosquito, it's the reason why why two people can walk into a forest and one can leave just peppered in mosquito bites and the other won't have a single one. And that is, or just a nibble. And like, that's the same thing with a crop. A swarm of locusts will not consume a healthy crop. The mosquito, when a person is healthy, the mineral composition of our blood is too complex for the digestive system of the mosquito, and it's not able to feed our blood to its egg. Anyway, and so as we improve these systems, as our understanding deepens, so too will the efficiency of the food that we are growing, or these plants, their efficiency in sequestering carbon, gathering moisture and sunlight, and manufacturing, bioengineering these sugars to influence their environment. As they increase in their ability to do so, the quality, if that is the right word, and I'm not entirely certain, the quality of the biological activity, or I guess the health of those biological communities within the soil, grows, and the plant is more able to attract the beneficial bacteria needed for nutrient absorption and allocation, choosing the ability to take in those nutrients and move them where needed. And that results in this really complex and not fully understood concept of nutrient density within our food. But again, pests and disease do not eat unhealthy plants. So if a bug is eating it, or if we're having to defend these plants against pests that want to eat it, that should tell us something about the quality of the food, because there's a brick scale. Oh man, see, I'm getting way off topic here. And I'll get into the brick scale in another video, but suffice it to say that there is a measurable point in which a plant gets rid of its pest pressure. There's a point where it gets so efficient at at doing these processes that the sugars that it is manufacturing are too complex for pests. But it's not until far above that point that the plant really gets efficient in moving nutrients through its system. So it stands to reason that if these plants, if these crops, if these 100,000 acre farms are having to defend these plants against pests that want to devour them, it stands to reason that those plants are not healthy. We are defending sick plants, and then we are eating that produce, and it is not sufficient to provide the needs that our body has to efficiently do what we are here to do, which is to understand and to create. Whew, okay, that finally came around. See, I need another drink of water, and then we'll wrap this thing up, and then I'll go get back to the traditional productivity attempts, which normally fail. But we're getting better at that too. All right, where were we? We were, oh, there's the dance again. See, and if I was living consciously, I would have remembered that. Okay, so where were we? After the third eye, okay. The crown chakra. This one, I don't fully understand it. Up until fairly recently, And I'm still not entirely sure what I believe in terms of my spirituality, what I believe about, you know, notions or definitions of God. But my connection with the great whatever is going on here has certainly grown. And while I don't fully understand it, and possibly never will, anyway, yeah, so the crown chakra is this connection with the great and it's a connection that we all share because we are here in this life. And so the sound, the hands interweave the fingers, the pinkies touch, and the left thumb over the right. And the sound is ng. I don't know if I'm getting that right. It's an N and a G. The color is like purple or white or black in some cases, I think. I'm probably mistaken there, so don't quote me on that. Probably don't quote me on any of this. Anyway, it's when attention is given, it's just deepening this connection, and this is an area that I struggle with as well, which is why I'm having difficulty conveying the depths of its meaning to you. But all of this will come with personal understanding, and it's going to be different for every individual. What any aspect of this means to an individual is going to be different. However, I do believe that there are certain universal truths that permeate life. Yeah, so and I also personally here make the connection between where I am now as an individual and where I see myself, because as we understand it, right, time is not linear. Time is this wibbly wobbly ball of mess, right? And so the self that you're reaching for exists, and that connection is always there. And so the truths within your soul are omnipresent, and our own potential is always within us. And I promise you, we each and every one of us have unlimited potential. So believe it, recognize it, and trust that your soul, your spirit, knows where it's going. We just have to meet it halfway. Anyway, yeah, so and then I don't know the names of these last two that are the out-of-body chakras, but I tend to do this thing, and I go right here. There is this chakra. It's like some people, as I understand it, and my explanations are gonna be a bit more sporadic here, because again, this is all, I mean, for me at least, this is all very new. But at this stage, this energy center is associated with again, this connection with the soul, and this understanding and certainty that no matter what happens, we are able to rebuild wherever we find ourselves, if we take the time to find the solutions to our problems and address our shortcomings and to better ourselves, and we find these solutions wherever we find ourselves in this life or the next, we will be able to rebuild, and we will have the fortitude and the ability to rebuild and to grow, and to positively influence all life. And so that recognition, that understanding for me is deeply impactful, and it gives me a great deal of comfort, as in my more manic moments when these energies are flowing. And by the way, I will mention, and I won't go into I won't expand on it too much because it's still this fairly new concept to me, but in the, I don't know, subliminal whatever's going on in the world, these designs, I believe that there are traps laid, both out in the world and meant to. There's definitely, I think, a connection with some of the influences that these things are having on our subconscious, to where it kind of sets off these triggers, these traps within the individual. So when these energies are flowing, it triggers these fears, these I don't know, dastardly thoughts, anyway, and I think that, at least for me, on more than one occasion throughout my life, those particular I don't know, triggers have really threatened my very existence in this life, and I think that is, I think that is by design. It's meant so that we will either be debilitated by fear and not move through the world in a beneficial manner consciously, and fully channeling these energies and realizing this potential that we have as human beings, or take ourselves out of the equation. And I think it's as simple as that. And I think it's important to remember that we belong here and we have a job to do. As for the folks that have fallen to that particular trap, if that is in fact what it is, I like to think that they are not lost forever. Anyway, man, see, whew. Another drink of water. Okay, and then, oh, see, I remembered that time, the ants. There's not as many of them. Oh, well, it's probably because I didn't startle them into action. It's pretty incredible how quickly they react to a situation. So, right, I don't even know if we can see it here, but there's a few, right, and then alright, the effect isn't quite. Alright, well, usually, and I mean, you can kind of see it, just not quite to the degree that I was hoping to show you. But anyway, on to this last, but certainly not least, energy center. It's this idea and understanding that, and this comes back to what I was saying earlier about this lens that we have through which we view the world. We internalize what's happening in the world. We internalize to the best of our own abilities, our own understandings, and then we take that understanding and it influences our motions in the world, and thus the impact that our actions and our, oh hey buddy, and our thoughts have. Here's a cool little guy. I don't know the name of this species, but they're pretty neat. I've got a video somewhere of one fight. Oh, I didn't know they could fly. Sweet. Anyway, yeah, so it's this idea that, and I think of it just it's the easiest way for me to internalize this particular truth, as I see it, is that we breathe in, that air that we're breathing is going through chemical changes, and then we breathe it out. We're breathing in oxygen, converting it into carbon dioxide that the trees then can breathe, and the ground can breathe and turn back into oxygen. We have a beneficial relationship. It can be symbiotic, and it is, in fact, because we rely on these systems for survival, not the other way around. But that's not to say that we do not have an important role to play in the ecosystems of planet Earth. We can, and I believe are meant to be, keystone species, and I will get into that in another video, but suffice it to say that we have a very, very important role to play, I believe, in the functioning, the health of this planet, and it can be a very positive one. We just have to take responsibility for our own potential and how we move through the world and how we choose to impact the designs that right now, it's very important that we thoughtfully, intelligently redesign our society, because it's easy to see that things are not heading in a way that is beneficial to the individual, to society, or to life on Earth, and that is not necessary. It does not have to be that way. We can make a decision, and we have a voice. Anyway, so we take it in, we breathe it out. The same life force that drives and permeates all of existence, from the ground beneath our feet, to the air we breathe, to the distant stars that someday we will bask in their light. Thank you for spending this time with me. I know how valuable it is. And if you haven't visited my website, there's a poem there that I think, I like to think, kind of captures that and just how valuable your time is. So thank you. I love you. Have a good day. You are literally made of stardust. You have a right to exist. Every breath you take, just by simply being here, just by living, just by existing, just by doing all of the things that your body naturally does, just by grooving, you are having an impact on this world, and what you breathe out, the trees breathe in, and that's pretty doggone neat. So yeah, I'm out. We're at 52 minutes and 40 seconds. See, I was thinking this was going to be a really short video. All right, peace is possible.